What's up, everybody? Welcome to the State of Wild, episode 52, a regular YouTube video web series podcast thingy. My name is Meowth, and as usual, I'm joined by my two good friends, Roffle and Corbett. How are you guys doing this week?
Doing great. We've got a lot of news, a lot of exciting things to talk about today. So looking forward to getting into the new content.
Yeah, a lot of people seem very hyped about this whole theme. Not a WoW person myself, but I'm also getting wrapped up in it. I got to wake up to this announcement, and I love it. I love this whole Horde and Alliance theme that they're going with throughout the year, so it should be very fun.
As a WoW person, even though I played the most predominantly Horde, I'm pretty excited too. There's we kind of get a sneak peek or some expectation for what the mini set might be as well, just based on the location. So a lot of cool stuff coming up.
Yeah, lots to talk about. I mean, that's really all we're going to be talking about today. But before we get into all that, we do have to take care of some of our housekeeping stuff. So first, just a reminder to leave a like, comment, and subscribe if you guys enjoy the content. Whether it's on YouTube or Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you're listening, make sure you guys hit the little subscribe button and that likes. It's a small thing, but it does actually support us a ton.
In addition to that, you can also support us on Patreon at patreon.com/stateofwild. And I'd like to thank our most recent patron, Swarm Tides, at the rare tier.
And of course, you can always come join the podcast Discord server. A lot of wild talk, Hearthstone talk going on there. So make sure you come swing by and join the rest of the community. It's good.
Yeah, especially as we're getting all these cards that are going to be revealed soon. I know lots of people are already talking about some decks and ideas and all that kind of good stuff in the podcast. And of course, we're in there too, talking about it as well. So if you guys want to join, make sure you guys click that link down in the description below. And if you're a patron, make sure you link them because you get special, perks for being a patron as well. All right, enough of the housekeeping stuff. Let's jump into it. The new expansion was announced today. All right, we're recording this on Thursday night. United in Stormwind, so the Alliance-themed expansion to follow up Forged in the Barrens. So of course, 135 cards coming August 3rd. And so we've got four main kind of cycles and card types and mechanics being introduced. So let's go ahead and start off with the first one. We're going to get new quest. Again, this is the third time we're getting quests, but they're a little bit different. So these are kind of quest lines, very similar to what you would get in an MMO, right? Where instead of just one quest that starts in your opening hand, you complete it, you get a massive reward. These also start in your opening hand, but you complete kind of 3 small steps. So we'll talk about the Mage and the Warlock quest lines today, but just as kind of a little bit of a spoilers. So how these will work are that you will get these in the opening hand for the Mage, you will play 3 spells, and you'll get a small baby reward. And then you'll move on to step 2 of the quest, which is, requiring you to play 3 more spells, and then you'll get a little bit of a better reward. And then you move on to step 3, and once you complete the third part of the quest, you get a pretty massive, significant reward, similar to what we have gotten in the past with the old quest. And so specifically, each class is going to get a quest, and you're going to get the mercenary specific to that class that is going to be joining your side as a very powerful legendary minion. So I'm just open to you guys. Are you guys excited that we're getting quests back? And what are you thinking about kind of this new way that they have been kind of implemented in the 3 stages?
So far, I like what I see from the quest. The buy-in's a little bit larger over the span of the entire card, but smaller for the individual pieces. So, for instance, playing 3 spells, it is a decent size ask just because it's 3 different spell schools. So you have to do a Fire, Arcane, and Frost spell, which kind of could be a little bit clunky depending on the draw order of your deck. But like the initial ask is smaller. You get mini rewards along the way to help offset the fact that you're doing something that spans over the course of the game. And then you get to drop a big fat, what appears to be, in both cases so far at least, a permanent status effect that you get as a result of completing the quest. So for Mage, it's +3 spell damage, I believe, and then permanently, even if your mercenary is removed. And then for Warlock, you start damage that you take on your own turn actually goes to the opponent instead. So there's kind of aura type effects that we haven't really seen before, other than maybe Frostlit Jaina. So I'm excited about this. It's kind of how they're incorporating the mercenaries this set. And even looking a little bit further, I know it's we're hyped about this current expansion, but it kind of suggests to me that, like, again, the mercenaries are going to be a critical component to this year of the Griffin. Might be a bit foreshadowing, might be a little bit early to do so, but it might be foreshadowing for hero cards of the mercenaries in the third and final set once they're fully powered up as a result of leveling through different stages. Something that you mentioned the MMO aspect of the questline. Something to keep in mind is that compared to the Barons, I believe Stormwind and the associated dungeon that might be the mini set is like a step up in terms of the leveling associated with it from where the Barons would be for the Horde players. So we might get to see the progress of these mercenaries as they go through the different expansions. And I think Questlines is the current iteration of that rather than just the normal version of them.
Damn, there was a lot to unpack there, Roffle. You kind of blew my mind a little bit with the hero theory. But yeah, let's start with that quest line, like you said, because there is that like not as big of a gap, right? Because you don't just play a quest, complete it fully, and then get this big reward. Because it's a bit more, like staggered in terms of these mini payoffs. It means that it doesn't feel as dramatic, maybe, where it doesn't feel like you're just only working towards this one big thing. You can actually mitigate some of the issues that you usually have with completing quests, where the tempo losses, it doesn't feel as much like you're playing towards a clock, basically, which is some of my issue with the Ungoro quest, because it created this gameplay where it felt like the opponent just did their thing, or you did your thing with the quest, and it just all led up to that, and then once it happened, the game was kind of over a lot of the time. So I really like the direction. I think it's really cool. And yeah, they're very interesting mechanics, right? These aura effects in general. They're very weird, and I think that it'll be a ton of fun to sort of go through the deck building process. Obviously, right now, we don't know exactly what they're going to be looking for in terms of all the support pieces. But yeah, I really like it. I like that the mage one as well, like you discover a spell. It just lets you like help you complete the quest in and of itself. So if you're missing a arcane fire or frost spell, you can kind of find that missing piece when you get that first little reward. So I think it's a clever bit of design there as well.
I didn't play WoW personally, but I played other MMOs that are just like, a quest is not just one thing, right? It's like, go talk to this one guy, and then go kill 10 other things and turn it into somebody else, and then go collect 20 of these things and turn it into somebody else, and then finally you can progress in the story, right? So this feels very much like what quests are supposed to be, kind of ignoring the whole card game mechanic, but yeah, aura effects. I mean, I think we've only had Jaina and Dr. Boom, right, as the only like introduction of aura effects that I know of, and they're attached to hero cards. These are, I believe, the two that we've seen are like 5-mana 7/7s. I don't know if they're all going to be 5-mana 7/7s, but I mean, the aura effects are insanely powerful from what we've seen, right? I don't know if all 10 of them are going to be like that. I'd be very surprised if they were all like super powerful, but I mean, 3+3 spell damage in mage is like permanently is just kind of nuts. Yeah. And then the Warlock one, I know the Warlock one's gotten a lot of people talking, and we'll talk about that, don't worry. But pretty insane effects. I'm kind of excited to see what they're going to do in other classes, right? If these are just like the tip of the iceberg that they're sharing at the beginning, I'm really excited to see what they're holding on to for the very last, final reveal stream, and where they spoil all the big stuff. So I'm really excited for that.
Yeah, and Demon Hunter will even finally get its own quest as well. So that'll be the first Demon Hunter quest that we get. And yeah, I think the like permanent aura enchantment type thing is something that they've, as we've talked about, they've touched on a little bit, and I'm really looking forward to like that type of effect, especially when it requires a bit of a buy-in, like the quest do. I'm a little bit curious if and how they'll display that visually. It would be nice to have some sort of like marker to indicate that, just as a reminder. But either way, like I don't know, I'm excited like you to see what some of the other classes get.
Yeah, and I'm also expecting some new quest synergy, right? Like we have Questing Explorer and Licensed Adventure and something Crag.
Sky Captain, or I don't know.
I don't know
about
that.
The original, I believe.
Sky General, right?
There you go. The 2/3 Crag that summons the parrot. That's all I know. But I would not be surprised if we got some additional quest synergy that also helps out with all the other quests, potentially in the format. All right, so that's just one cycle. The next kind of the brand new mechanic for the set is Tradable, and so this might, as I talk through it, might seem really familiar to anybody that's played Magic. So Tradable is basically an additional value that's tacked onto your cards. You have a card that does a thing, but then it also has Tradable, and Tradable means that you can pay 1 mana and hover it over your deck, which will shuffle the card back into your deck and draw you another card. And so basically this is cycling, right, from Magic. And so I really, really like the effect. It going back into your deck rather than your graveyard, is a little bit, we don't have a graveyard in Hearthstone, so it's kind of like the next best thing. But yeah, I mean, I love cycling. I love the ability to, like, okay, I have this card that is useless in this matchup. Rather than have it sit in my hand to do nothing, I can, spend my mana, draw another card that is potentially more useful in this matchup. And we'll talk about a couple that they've, revealed so far. And just to clarify a couple things that I've seen on Twitter. So, tradable keyword does not count as playing a card, right? So it's not casting the card. It's not never entering the battlefield. Nothing like that is happening. And so specifically for us, we're interested in like the effects with Polka potentially. And so the way that this works is when you trade in your card, you will draw off of the top of your deck, and then this gets shuffled in afterwards. And they do mention that this tradable card does keep enchantments. So for example, if you're playing a hand buff paladin, you give this like tradable minion +3/+3. When you shuffle it back into your deck, it will keep the +3/+3, which is not how it usually works in Hearthstone. I think this is the first time that this is happening. So yeah, tradable. Excited? You like the key, the key mechanic of the set? How are you guys feeling about it?
I think this is one of the best new mechanics that we've had in quite a while. Frenzy, Spellburst. Spellburst was a little bit exciting at the time. Frenzy maybe a little bit less so, just because it was kind of similar. It's a combination of Spellburst and Rage almost, to where I don't know, it didn't feel as exciting as something totally new like this. And like you, I've played some Magic and understand the cycling, and the flexibility associated with that is pretty powerful, even though you are paying mana for it. To see a new card, to get a new card, especially for control decks, is very strong. To find a card that better suits the situation that you're in. There's a few what appears to be kind of pack fillers associated with tradable and that have been revealed so far, but there's some really pretty interesting ones as well. So I think that it will, as with all mechanics, depend on the quality of the cards that are printed associated with it. But I'm really excited for the opening this door. Like you said, that there are a few unique aspects to it. You're not playing a card, so you can cycle the card without actually triggering counterspell, working towards some spells or secrets that proc based on the number of cards that you're playing. It doesn't hit Oh My Yogg. So there's a lot of benefits to the fact that it is not itself being played. And so I think that I'm looking forward to kind of the uniqueness of it. And it's just kind of, again, a fresh mechanic in comparison to some of the ones that we've seen in the more recent past.
Yeah, I think this is so smart as a mechanic. I think this is really brilliant. It just makes your draws for both players feel much less polarizing, right? Like if you have a card that isn't particularly useful in that specific matchup, it just means that you're not stuck with a card that doesn't do anything. You have to actually toss it back and get something that you want to actually play. And playing cards is fun. And so I think in terms of enjoyment of the game, I think it's cool. I think it offers a lot of sometimes it'll offer really cool decision making, right? Like, what do you want to actually commit that one mana? The fact that it isn't free is good, and so it gives a little bit more flexibility in the lines. And yeah, like I said, it makes the draws a lot less polarizing overall, which means both players get to play the game a little bit more. I guess I was thinking when you said we don't have a graveyard, I'm guessing they couldn't really do discarding the card. That probably doesn't feel as fun, and also I guess thematically doesn't quite work with the tradable kind of aspect of it. But yeah, I really like how all this is implemented, and I'm really looking forward to seeing more of it. I think it's as you said, I think it's probably the best sort of mechanic that we've seen, especially for its creativity, and how different it is than anything we've seen previously since, I guess, Discover. I think this is a really, really important mechanic moving forward.
I think that.
Go ahead.
I think deleting the card for 1 mana, whether it goes into your graveyard or a discard, it would probably be a little bit too strong. I think that the fact that it does delete your draws is probably relevant in some cases. The fact that it keeps enchantments, that was surprising to me. So that it could be potentially upside as well, because typically when you apparently it's not fully changing zones like you would expect it to, but I mean that has some interesting, potential use cases as well. So unique mechanic, and I like new things, even if it does have some overlap with MTG. Like it's still new to Hearthstone, so I'm into it.
Yeah, I'm okay taking things from MTG when it involves like a really awesome mechanic. Like you mentioned Discover, I feel like this is one that I would be very happy if this ended up becoming like an evergreen mechanic like Discover did, because I just think it's something that is very simple to understand, right? And I think just has great gameplay potential. So I'm really excited about Tradable, even if like some of the cards that we're going to see today aren't the greatest. I think the keyword itself is pretty damn awesome, and I'm excited for it.
One more thing, I think thematically it has the potential to come back as well, just because like auction masters and auctioneers are a pretty common portion of Warcraft lore. So if we're ever in another city, for which we tend to visit cities in Hearthstone in terms of like locations for sets, it would make sense to have some tradable stuff if it becomes like a popular mechanic.
Yeah, Blizzard, please make sure that you're bringing this back. This seems pretty awesome. Okay, so the next kind of cycle of cards, we wouldn't be in a WoW expansion. This whole year is WoW expansions, and it would be absolutely absurd if we finally didn't have mounts. And so the mounts are coming. Basically, these are all Spikeridge Steed-esque spells. Just think about it like Spikeridge Steed. So you play a mount spell on a creature, it gets those buffs and the keyword. So for Spikeridge Steed, it was +2/+6 with taunt. And then when that minion died, you got the 2/6 taunt minion. All the mount spells work the same exact way. They have different stats, they have different keywords, all that kind of good stuff. But yeah, I mean, I love Spikeridge Steed. It was really, really powerful in Standard back in the day. It's kind of fallen off in Wild recently, but I'm excited for that mechanic to kind of come back.
I mean, Spikeridge Steed is a pretty nostalgic card, even if it's not currently played. So just like having similar effects is, I don't know. I'm not opposed to reprints or functional reprints, or even like taking inspiration from past cards that were fun and good cards, which I think Spikeridge Steed is. So I'm excited about these. I'm curious to see again what the quality of cards are. A couple of the ones that we've seen already look like they have some potential though, and you're getting a lot of stats for a little mana in most cases. That was what made Spikeridge Steed so strong.
Yeah, I mean, just like buffs by themselves aren't sort of jumping off the page to me. I really like a lot of what I've seen so far from this expansion, but like the mounts aren't sort of like the biggest thing for me. It's kind of like, oh, that's cool. But it is just sort of like a buff and a stat pile. I am interested to see like what they do if they can get creative. Where like the Hunter one is a little bit like, it's quite different, right, than a lot of buff cards that we've seen previously.
Yeah.
As opposed to this like a pure stat buff kind of thing. And so I am interested to see like what they do for all the classes, even if like just minion buffs aren't, the most thrilling thing for me personally.
Yeah, I mean, I totally could see them, like, since every class is getting one, being very specific to, the class, right? For, like, Warrior, it's a buff that has Death Rattle, gain armor, or something like that, right? So then when it dies, you get a 5/5 that gains you 5 armor when it dies, right? Or Mage has something to do with spell damage. I hope it's not all just Divine Shield and taunts. Like, they have so much room, I think, because you're giving... I don't know, you're able to add stats that are not just stats, right? They're keywords and everything like that. So, I don't know. I'm excited for them, but I'm also, like, somebody who loves playing Libram Paladin and buffing minions and Inner Fire Priest and stuff like that. So, it's kind of up my alley. Again, I'm a little bit sad because this just means, like, Zeph into Urshock and Zeph into Hex just gets even more powerful, which is a little bit frustrating. But, I mean, what are you going to do? Zeph is Zeph, and...
Zeph will always be Zeph too.
Yeah. So I'm excited for the mounts. Maybe not as excited as Tradable and Questlines, but I'm pretty excited for them. And last but not least, in United in Stormwind, we have kind of the last new cycle of cards. Weapons are back for all these classes. They're not legendary weapons like they were in Cohorts and Catacombs. Don't worry. No more Skull Guldans or Allaneths or King's Veins. Maybe. But these are weapons that have no attack. So every class is getting a weapon that has a special passive effect, kind of similar to the rewards from the quest lines, instead of attack values. And so they all have a special effect that triggers once you do a certain thing. And we'll talk about those. For example, like the Paladin one is a hand buff Paladin kind of weapon. Every time a minion loses Divine Shield, you buff all the weapon or minions in your hand. They're being called profession tools.
Yeah, so as the resident Warcraft gamer, they align to like a crafting profession within the set. So the ones that we've seen are enchanting, which is like giving your weapon additional qualities or buffs to it, and then jewel crafting. I forget the name in WoW, but because I never did professions, but whatever the jewelry creating one is the other one that we've seen. So we'll probably see things like leatherworking, tailoring, and that type of thing for some of the other classes as they get released. So they have we have expectations for what we might see, just not what they will do necessarily yet.
I mean, are you guys happy that every class is getting weapons? I guess, like, not knowing what these weapons are going to do. I mean, is this something that you like being revisited, even though they're not legendary weapons?
Yeah, I like it a lot. I think that the whole like non-attacking classes, whether it's like mage or something, for example, kind of having that space opened up to them and allowing them to actually use the weapon slot feels very fulfilling, I guess, rather than just being kind of a blank space a lot of the time. Yeah, the idea of like non-attacking weapons is very cool, and I like a lot of what we got last time with Alunith and all those kind of effects. Hopefully, some of them are a little bit better than last time. Shout out to like Dragon Soul.
Don't you dare trash talk Dragon Soul, okay? Card's
No,
fun, even if it's terrible.
But yeah, no, I like a lot of what these are, and I like the kind of effects that we've seen so far.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat. Like, I don't want to spoil too much, but I do like one of the examples that we've gotten already. It looks like it just seems fun to play with. I like the fact that similar to Sphere, there's a way to break the durability. So I think that was something that was maybe a little bit frustrating with like Alunith and Skull of Minari, is that like it's just there for the rest of the game. And so it's it doesn't feel great to have the passive ability constantly triggering. And so I think that this kind of indicates that they've maybe learned from that a little bit, where if you're not going to be swinging with a weapon, it needs to be able to break it in some way. So I like that aspect of it. And I like that they're not legendary, so maybe the effects aren't quite as game breaking, but you can run two of them, so you get more consistency, as well as just being able to repeat that, since you are going to be breaking the weapon.
For sure. All right. So we've talked about all the mechanics and the card cycles. I think it's about time we get into some of the actual cards that were revealed today. So let's go ahead and start talking about them. Let's start with the kind of not exciting stuff so that we can build up and finish on a strong note, okay? Let's start with Pandaren Importer. This is a 2-mana common 1/3. Battlecry, discover a spell that didn't start in your deck. So I think the comparisons here are to like Wandmaker and a Venomous Scorpion. The thing being that this is a spell that did not start in your deck. Normally that's a really bad thing because you're putting the good spells in your deck, right? So unless you're playing like a Spiteful deck where you don't get to run the spells that you want to, or a deck that has certain restrictions, like an Odd or an Even deck, or one of the new cards that we're going to talk about today for Priest, normally not a good thing. But are you guys just kind of in agreement that this is probably not going to find a home in Wild?
No, yeah, it's a 2-mana 1/3. Like it's almost like the dragon base type things, where discovering a spell outside of the whatever the 2-mana 2/2 is, it's not conditional, so you're always going to get a card. It's 2 mana, almost draw a card. But like you said, spells in your deck are generally better than spells not in your deck, because you put them in your deck for a reason. I would imagine. In addition to some of the deck building restrictions that you alluded to, I think that maybe it has some potential with something like a Dungeoneer, where you're trying to get value off of the draw there, and maybe you can't run spells of a particular school. But aside from the Shaman Dungeoneer, those have kind of been a little bit lackluster. So I think you're just okay, giving up the double draw in the primal dungeon here. So I don't see this being terribly impactful.
I think it's okay. Like, I can actually see this being played in something like Reno LPG Mage.
Okay.
You're not really running a ton of spells anyway. You don't have a ton of turn 2 plays. So you usually only have like Scientist or a Zeph or it's kind of it. Like you don't really have a ton else going on for the most part. And yeah, being able to discover a like cheap removal thing is pretty useful. The 1/3 body is better in wild, I think, than the one maker because a lot of the stuff is sort of like 2/1, 1/1. And there's not a lot of like 2 health things in the format for the most part. And so yeah, I could actually see this being played in some like LPG. I think it's pretty good.
Wow,
Not like
okay.
outstanding, not like splashable and everything, but yeah, I think it's solid.
Yeah, I mean, do you
Yeah.
do you like this better than Scorpid in LPG Mage? I know you and I have both been trying that out.
Yeah.
I'm pretty high on Scorpid. Do you think this is a little bit better than that?
I mean, probably a probably a little better, maybe. I'm not sure. Like, I mean, for 1 mana, the discount, like the spell pool that you discover isn't really any different, right? Because you're running so few spells, and it's not like you want the galaxy anyways. They're like the spell pool that you can discover isn't any different, and so it's like, is the poison worth 1 mana? I don't know. They're about the same to me.
I think
Poison
the
worth
upside,
1 mana plus no block, or Flame Ward,
Right.
or Book of Spectres.
I think block
But-
is the biggest like upside, but I don't know that that's worth 1 mana for the Scorpid. I think I'd rather just get it out a turn earlier because for functionally, like you said, the same discover pool. So I think Scorpid's a pretty good comparison actually, especially for a deck like LPG Mage. I think I could see that. I think it's it is slightly better than just your typical pack filler. I think that it is a good quality card. I just don't know like if it's going to have a high impact. It might be run though. I could definitely see that. I think you convinced me.
I had this in the pack filler section, but turns out maybe not so pack filler after all. Speaking of filling, all right, terrible transition. I'm sorry in advance, but Spice Bread Baker, 4 mana 3/2 battle cry, restore health to your hero equal to your hand size. I think a lot of people have been equating this to anti-Keelbot, which is 5 mana for a 3/3, but it guarantee always restores 8. I want to go ahead and say that like I don't love this card because as a Reno deck, which is where you're probably going to be seeing this card, or maybe a Shutterwalk Shaman, you're kind of tempoing out your cards anyways early in the game to try to fight for board and not take 1,000,000 damage. And so normally this is coming down and restoring 3 or 4 to your hero, and I don't know if that's good enough. Plus, Healbot, even though it's 1 mana more, has the upside of Ziliax Magnetize as well. And Healbot's not even run in any deck. So, maybe am I maybe right in finally putting this in the correct location of pack filler? Or do you guys have a differing opinion?
No, I would rather run the funnel cakes over this, just because a lot of times in Wild in particular, even when you're playing a minion for healing, the stats matter a lot because like you get the healing, and then if they just run like a deckhand into this and blast you for the rest of their board, did you really make any progress that turn? Like, so that's been the problem with Healbot for a while, is that they you heal for 8, but then you take 12 on the backswing. So what changed? And I think that this probably puts things in a similar place. I don't want to run this even Warlock. I don't want to run this in Arena Warlock because there's too high a quality of cards that exist in that deck already. And I think the same probably applies even to a Shutterwalk Shaman, because even though you can repeat that over the course of the game and you are going to be playing with a full hand, I think that they're just better quality cards that you could be running, and healing isn't that important when you're getting, when you're taking damage in large spikes a lot of the time.
Yeah, I could say it's an even lock. Reno lock, probably not. But I think an even lock, the potential to, be able to swing with Molten Giants and then heal for, 8 is pretty significant for just 4 mana. It's like the deck doesn't have a ton of amazing healing options, but it was also super desperate for healing. So yeah, I guess like even lock is kind of the only big thing. But again, I don't know if even lock is really coming back with much much of an oomph anytime soon.
Yeah, I mean, I played some even lock recently. It didn't do too poorly. I think Spellstone is just better at swinging boards, and honestly, like I just don't care if I heal. I'm just killing my opponent. Like that's usually where I find myself is like, sure, I'll stay at 10. I don't like why heal when the opponent's dead next turn. So I don't even know that like I don't know that the healing that you get from this is worth the 2 mana body that you're getting from off of the card.
All right, let's move into some of the new tradable cards, the new mechanic that we've been talking about. Let's start off with Impatient Shopkeep. This is a 3-mana 3/3 with tradable and rush. I mean, 3-mana 3/3s with rush is like nowhere near playable in our format. So I think if I get a nod from you guys, I think I'm just gonna move on to the next card. Let's talk about Heavy Plate. This is a warrior 3-mana tradable spell. Gain 8 armor. So comparing this to Ironhide, which is 1 mana gain 5, you're paying 2 mana for 3 extra armor and the ability to trade it. And then you're comparing this to Shield Block. This is 3 less armor and not drawing a card for the upside of trading a card. So what are the opinions on Heavy Plate? I mean, I guess specifically Odd Warrior is kind of like the only place that I could see this really seeing play. I don't know. I don't play a lot of Odd Warriors, so I kind of defer to you guys about this card.
I could see it being run in addition to, or at least tested instead of a shield block. I think that's a fine comparison. A lot of times when I'm playing Odd Warrior, the situation I find myself in is I either want the draw or I want the armor off of shield block. And so this kind of splits that into separate abilities. The one thing I was going to mention this earlier when we were talking about tradable, I think that where tradable actually does have some potential benefit is in even odd decks because it allows you to fill out your mana curve a little bit more cleanly. Like in general, as a mechanic, it allows you to do that so that you're floating mana less frequently. But like specifically in even odd decks, that's where I think that it has the potential to shine. So I could very well see this being a useful card just because like that's a hefty amount of armor, and in situations where you don't need that, you can cycle it. Unlike shield block, there are also times where you do not want to draw a card off a shield block, so you're kind of limited by the card draw since your win condition is fatigue. So not like that really only matters in maybe the mirror, so I wouldn't like consider that like a critical aspect of it, but it kind of splits what the shield block is doing into 2 pieces that you can decide which one you actually need for the scenario. Generally, a card that does both things is better than a card that individually does one thing, but even if you trade it, you get it later. So I don't know. It'll be interesting to see. I don't know that it's better than shield block, but I think that's maybe a good comparison.
Yeah, I think it is like worse than shield block, and whether it sees play though, lean towards no. Like it's tough, like evaluating a new mechanic like this, right? With tradable, we haven't seen it before. But I don't think it's really worth it in Odd Warrior. That said, I don't want to completely like dismiss it because armor gain is really good. Like eight armor is a lot of armor. And so there's a chance, but yeah, I would lean towards no.
I guess before we hop into our other tradable cards, what do you guys think the mana value of tradable, right? Like what is a good rate for trading in a card in your deck when it's like tacked on to these effects? Like what if you had to say 1 mana, 2 mana, 0.5 mana? I mean,
I think half a mana is basically what you're paying to have the word tradable on it, based on what we've seen. Half a mana or like a single, which essentially equates to a single stat line. I mean, that's kind of what we're seeing in the Impatient Shopkeep. It's a 3/3 rush that's probably fairly statted without the tradable keyword on it. So you may not. I mean, depending on the card quality, you may not be paying a mana at all to have the tradable keyword on it. The other neutral card that we haven't seen yet does also appear to be just like fairly statted for its cost. So it's really going to depend on the card quality. I know we kind of dismissed the Impatient Shopkeep, the 3/3 rush, but I think it has some potential. You're not running it in your deck, but maybe it can see some use case off of athletic studies, for instance, and it's not entirely terrible. It's just like they're better options for rush minions.
All right, so let's move on to Fire Sale. This is a 4 mana tradable fire spell for mage. God, these are gonna just be like mouthfuls to talk about, huh? It's a 4 mana tradable spell. Deal 3 damage to all minions. So I mean, playing LPG Mage, there have been metagames that I have one-hit Volcanic Potion, which is 3 mana, deal 2 to the board. I think I'm okay taking 1 more mana for 3 damage and the ability to, let's say, against an Odd Warrior or against Arena Priest or a Big Priest, trade it away to try to find my LPG, my Dragoncaster, my Lothebs. So I actually am kind of high on this card. I think it's pretty good, and I'm going to be messing with it. I mean, obviously it depends on the metagame, right? Volcanic Potion is not a staple. I don't think this card's a staple, but in certain metagames, I think it's going to be a very, 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 very solid card.
The 2 to 3 breakpoint is pretty big in Wild, and particularly 3, I think, is like 3 is the breakpoint that really matters in terms of the important minions that you want to kill. So I think that that's relevant. For me, though, the main reason I intend to play this card is I want to insert a bunch of clips of Tobias from Arrested Development auditioning for the Fire Sale commercial. I don't know if you've watched that, but it's okay. That's all I can think about when I see this card. So. All right.
I'm uncultured, Roffle. I'm sorry.
Unbelievable. I'm
sorry.
rethinking my decision to be on this podcast now.
Never got to Arrested. It's been on my watch list for like 2 years, but never quite got there. I do love the Fire Sale though. Like, what a great name. What a great what a great card thematically. No, super strong though. Like really, really strong card. Very hyped about this one. I think this is probably the best tradable card, and like just really, really solid in general. Definitely slapping that LPG Mage. And you'll have a good time.
Yep. All right, let's move on to, before Roffle actually hates us for the Arrested Development and actually considers leaving the podcast, let's move on to the next one. Let's talk about Rustrot Viper. 3 mana, 3/4 beast, tradable. Battlecry, destroy your opponent's weapon. So it's a 3 mana, 3/4 ooze with tradable. Again, this is another card that I think a lot of people, at least in my Twitch chats, kind of dismissed. And I actually think that this card has a lot of potential. Okay, if Kingsbane is the only deck in the metagame that's kind of requiring you to tech a weapon, sure, I can see Gluttonous Ooze being a better choice than this. But if we're ever back in a Skull of the Minari metagame, an Ankar metagame, I mean, All in Us not really a card anymore, but a lot of these kind of low impact, low power, not low impact, sorry, because then you wouldn't need to destroy them, but low power kind of weapons, I actually really, really like the Rustrot Viper, because then when you queue into something like Druid or Priest that doesn't really abuse their weapons, you have the ability to cycle this away, which I think is extremely important. And so I'm really, really hype on this card. I think it's definitely playable in the format, because it's not even like poorly statted for when you do need to tempo it out. And so am I making things up, or are you guys liking this card or not?
I mean, I'm with you on that one. I think it's I don't like you said, other than Kingsbane, like Glut Ooze is pretty irrelevant. There are a few things that this has going for it. I think that on a tech card, tradable is more valuable simply because when you don't need it, you don't have it. Like if like that alone makes this card, in my opinion, better than Glut Ooze. Even even with the fact that you aren't getting armor against Kingsbane. I think that what people fail to recognize when it comes to tech cards is the reason that they're bad isn't that they have bad stats or that they are low impact in certain matchups. It's that in addition to that, the opportunity cost of running that card means that you're not running a good card in that card slot instead. So not only is it low impact, but it could have been something else that could have been much better for that situation. And now with tradable, it can be. And so you can, if you don't just want a vanilla 3/4, you can say, well, it's turn 10. I better look for something, maybe at 8 mana that actually can help me swing this board, or I can cycle this in for N'Zoth, God of the Deep, and actually have a high impact turn instead of just jamming a spider tank on turn 10. So I think that like tradable on a tech card is huge. And then just on top of that, like the stats are fine. It's a spider tank. It has the beast tag, so you can just like run this in your beast hunter deck and cycle off of if weapons are relevant, like it's just a decent card in your beast hunter deck that receives buffs from don't feed the animals and gets even bigger. So like I know it's kind of a meme with the beast tag, but like in hunter that is kind of relevant. And then comes back off of N'Zoth and just is a better vanilla minion than Glut Ooze. So I don't know. I don't see the problem with the card. I think that the tradable side of things is the most upside that it has as a tech card. The other things are kind of incidental and help increment its power level to some degree. But I think tradable.
Yeah, I was thinking when you were asking earlier about like what the mana cost is roughly with tradable, with the mana math. The thing is, it kind of depends on the card, right? Because it's more valuable on cards that have more polarizing impact in different matchups. So a card that is like very, very powerful in one matchup and weaker in another, the tradable is worth a lot more on that card compared to like the vanilla 3/3. Just because like Ruffle said, when you want it, you have it, and when you don't want it, you can toss it. So that's true for Fire Sale, but it's also true for this card. I think this card might be the best weapon tech card that we have seen. The most powerful weapon tech card in the format. I can definitely see it seeing a fair amount of play. Like 4 health is great. 4 health doesn't actually, feel like you're just wasting a turn necessarily. Like a Spider Tank isn't great, but it's better than a 3/3. It's better than a 3/2 on turn 2 with Acidic. It's better than the Sticky Finger 4/4. This is really good. So yeah, I really like this card. The Beast Tag, as well, is relevant in that like don't feed the animals, because that deck in particular, Beast Hunter, it really struggles against like weapon decks from opponents. Like it doesn't do well against things like Pirate Warrior and Odd Rogue, for example. And so having a beast that can destroy weapons that is decently statted and also corrupts the don't feed are all valuable things. So yeah, I really like this card. Very, very cool to see like tech cards in particular have this sort of a tradable tag, which is really important for them.
Potentially dangerous to give them tradable.
Potentially dangerous,
depending on how high impact they are. Destroying a weapon has traditionally been not terribly impactful. Like even against Kingsbane, they have a lot of ways to fetch it themselves. So I think this is a low risk one. But if you see some like imagine tradable on something like super polarized, like Skulking Geist or something along those lines, it has the potential to be dangerous. I don't think they'll do anything like that, but you never know.
Question: if you trade something into your deck, do they see what card you're shuffling away? Like, will they see that you have tossed away your weapon removal to draw a card?
I would be surprised. I imagine it would. I haven't seen, or I saw the animation, but I only saw it from the player's perspective, so I don't know if we have an answer to this yet. I would imagine not, just based off of the precedent of something like a what's the card? Guess the Weight. Doesn't show you what you get off of that. So I would be surprised if it gives away that information, other than the fact that it's a tradable card.
Yeah. So like, I guess the value of running multiple tradable cards then goes up if they don't have the information, right? Okay. Just something that I was thinking about while we were talking about this. But yeah, I mean, Viper, I think we can all agree. I think we're pretty high on this card. This common, neutral, 3-mana, 3/4 beast. I think it might become one of the new wild staples. So hope you open Golden from your packs if you're into that. Let's talk about some of those weapons, actually. So we've gotten the Warlock and the Paladin weapons that have been revealed. The Warlock weapon, 3-mana, 0/2, Runed Mithril Rod. After you draw 4 cards, reduce the cost of cards in your hand by 1. Lose 1 durability. So basically in Wild, this is kind of just combo with Plot Twist, I'm assuming. I'm not really sure if it's powerful enough to see play on its own. But yeah, I mean, with Plot Twist, you play this on 3, turn 4, Plot Twist, discount your entire hand, and then kind of go from there. I don't think Mechathune really needs discounts to combo off anymore, but like Mechathune was like the one deck that probably benefits the most from being able to discount your hand after a Plot Twist. So kind of intrigued if people experiment with Mechathune Warlock again after this. But I mean, I guess a couple questions to you guys. Does it see play without Plot Twist? And how high impact is the combo with Plot Twist to like kind of enhance and maybe encourage people to be playing that combination of cards?
I think it probably sees play without Plot Twist, but gets worse without it, and I don't think it's a good card. So either way, like with or without Plot Twist, I don't think this is going to be that good. So that's okay though, because it looks like a lot of fun. I just want more cost reduction so I can do more dumb things. Like this opens up treachery combos a little bit more. to do silly things with that. So like you used to use Generous Mummy in the past, now you don't have to. So it's like it gives you the potential for double, triple Emperor ticks because you could run 2 of these plus double plus your Emperor, and that sounds fun to me. The problem with plot twist is the second one gets a lot worse because you're going to be shuffling your cards in, they lose their cost reduction. But the first one is pretty fun, and like it does. I don't know. I like cards that open up possibilities that you shouldn't have. So things like Emperor Thorus and even Celestial Alignment to a certain degree are interesting to me because you shouldn't be able to play cards after like certain combinations of cards, and those let you. So I'm into it. It's probably bad though.
Yeah, I don't want to underestimate this card. Like it is low impact, but mana cheating is mana cheating. And it's not that hard for Warlock to draw cards either. So I don't know. Like you're very likely, committing 3, and then probably when the point it activates, you're getting like an 8 mana total discount. So like you're probably getting a lot out of this. It's just a question about, are you gonna die in the meantime? Yeah, I don't know. Mechathun locks definitely can want this type of effect. I don't even know if you need like the whole plot twist thing. I imagine when you plot twist, if you plot twist with like 8 cards, so it goes off where you draw the first 4, it activates, you lose durability, and then you draw the next 4, and then it activates. Because plot twist is per tick when you have the quest, right? So it counts as each draw individually, which means that the first 4 cards that you drew, they get discounted by 2. In that situation, if you had like 8 cards. And so that's a lot of discounting.
Yeah. There's also just like play the weapon on 3. On turn 4, you draw your card for turn and then backfire, and then your entire hand is
stuff
discounted.
like Solarium or like Kobold Librarian Tour Guide. Like it's very easy to sort of catch up on getting this activated, I think. So yeah, I don't know. I don't want to underestimate mana cheating, but I kind of want to see what the rest of the set looks like.
All right, Darkleer Warlock. Play the weapon on 3. Turn 4, you backfire, and then your Darkleer is 1 mana. And then
dude,
like
your 0 mana
kobolds.
Giants is 0 mana Giants and cost 0. So that's good.
No, they'll be -1 at that point, which
no.
Everything in Darkleer is -1 mana anyways, because they always refill when you play with Darkleer. Yeah.
Just a counter Mana Wraith, right, Ruffle? Mana Wraith? Yeah.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on to the Paladin weapon, Prismatic Jewel Kit. This is a 1 mana 0/3 weapon. After a friendly minion loses Divine Shield, give minions in your hand +1/+1, lose 1 durability. So obviously, the first thing that came to my mind when I saw this weapon was hand buff, right? But hand buff Paladin itself doesn't really run a bunch of Divine Shields, if any. Like, thinking about it. So I'm not really sure this fits in hand buff Paladin. So then the next question became, okay, the Call to Arms aggro Paladin that ran mini bots and Annoyatrons and Righteous Protectors, and then Goody 2 shields with Rally as well. But then the issue that I was coming when I was thinking about that is that you don't normally have a ton of cards in hand, right? And the cards that you do have are normally like buffs or Divine Favor, and so
you also have a really good 2 mana weapon that you definitely want to be playing on turn 2.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I mean, we're ignoring the whole sword thing because that got nerfed, so you obviously don't ever play that because it got nerfed, right? So
true. Yeah.
But yeah, there's this whole issue where like the decks that want this effect don't really fit it super well. And so at least, the 5 minutes of thinking that I gave it. So I'm not really sure that this card sees a ton of play, if any at all. But again, I wouldn't be surprised if it did, right? Because as we've seen with hand buff Paladin, buffing entire hands of minions, maybe not as impactful as discounting every minion in your hand, but can be pretty powerful. So I wouldn't be surprised if it ended up seeing play, but right now I don't really see a home for it at all. What about you guys?
It is 3 repetitive buffs on a single card, but I think that, like you said, it's unless you shift to a really high density of Divine Shield minions in your hand buff Paladin, it's probably not going to be worth. There are, like, the thing about Divine Shield minions is they do receive buffs very well because of the way that they interact, and they're likely to go 2 or more for 1 as a result of the buffs on a Divine Shield. You do have things like Righteous Protector in that deck, maybe Shielded Minibot, definitely Argent Horse Rider. So you have some, but I don't know that that's enough on its own. And I don't know that the upside of this card is enough to change the way that you're building the deck to be centered around Divine Shield minions. if you are building a board-based Divine Shield minion like you discussed with Rally, Call to Arms, and whatnot, you would rather have those stats on board than in hand. So something like Rallying Blade, even though it costs 2 more mana, is going to be a better card for that deck. So I just don't see a home for it, and I don't know that you can activate it consistently enough to be worth the taking up the weapon slot as well as taking up a card slot in your hand buff paladin.
Yeah, so I think like hand buff paladin is the only real home because I think pretty much every other paladin is going to be a sword deck, and so it's really just that question. As Roffle said, there are some really good ones, and they do scale well with buffing, right? Like you have Righteous, and Argent Horse Rider and Carriel that all currently see play, or Righteous doesn't, but it can. Like has seen play previously. You also have things like a Neutron, Wicker Flame. These cards kind of sound a little memey until like Wicker Flame becomes a 3-mana 5/5 Divine Shield with Lifesteal and Taunt. And I also have played like with Baton previously a lot, the warrior weapon that buffs. When you swing, it buffs up a minion of a different tribe, 3 of them in your hand. And that card is bonkers. Like if that card gets like 2 triggers, that card is insane. And so I think for hand buff, like I really think this can be super powerful in the deck. I really, really do. Because you're already playing cards that scale well with hand buffing in general, just naturally. And so I don't think the deck building cost is that high. You also have a couple slots that have opened up with the nerfs that have gone on. And so it's not really that hard to slot in like an Annoyatron or a Righteous Protector and, tech even harder against, weapon decks and there's things like that and make those into really big threats. So it's so many stats. Like it could be 1 mana and it could represent something like 12/12 of stats. Like, isn't that just insane by itself? So yeah, I have a lot of hope for this card for sure. Because, stats, like a card with that high upside, it's begging to be broken.
I'm not gonna lie, before we started having this conversation, I kind of completely forgot that Horse Rider had Divine Shield, because the only time I see it is when it's killing me with Conviction. So, completely forgot it had Divine Shield. But yeah, I mean, I guess Hand Buff Paladin has kind of lost its identity, right? Since we lost first day of school, since Hand of a Doll got nerfed, like it is kind of feeling like it isn't gonna be that big of a, headache to kind of rework the list to maybe take advantage of this, like you mentioned. And so, yeah, like I said, I wouldn't be surprised that if it ended up being really, really good because, like you said, giving every minion in your hand +1/+1 is kind of nuts, right? Especially if you can proc it consistently on. If you proc this 3 times on 2 minions, are you happy? Like on 3, I think I'm definitely happy with +9/+9. If you proc this 3 times on 2 minions, and you get +6/+6, are you okay with that? Are you happy with that output? 1 mana +6/+6? Yeah, I think so.
I mean, with the cards that you have in Hand Buff Paladin, it's not difficult to have a high number of cards in your hand as well. Just with because that's how the deck is kind of built. It wants to hold. It wants to hold minions. It's it's how it plays. So that it certainly has potential.
Yeah. Just another card to keep an eye on. A card that we definitely should be keeping an eye on, in my opinion. Let's talk about moving on from the weapons. Let's talk about these peasants, and I'm not talking about Twitch chat. We're talking about this 1 mana 2/1 neutral common. At the start of your turn, draw a card. So this is kind of like Nat Pagle, but like when he was good, right? Where he guaranteed you a card. It's not at the end of your turn. It does have to survive, but it's a 1 mana 2/1. So it's being run in aggro decks. I'm assuming. And drawing cards in aggro decks is good. I will say that this is now very heavily favored towards this is great if you're going first, not very good if you're going second. So maybe this makes the whole odd decks going first polarization even worse if Peasant starts seeing a lot of play. But I mean, I love aggro decks drawing cards because that's what makes them good. And so I am definitely going to be testing a lot of this card. My initial instinct was in Hand Buff Paladin, but I'm sure I'm going to be testing it in Odd Rogue and Odd Demon Hunter and a bunch of the other odd decks that are not Odd Warrior, just because I think Peasant drawing cards just good. And it's not a 50-50 like Nat Pagle, right? Like it's guaranteed card draw. So I'm excited about this card. I think it's potentially nuts, right? It also has the potential to be not very good. But I overvalue, I think, card draw in aggro decks probably way more than I should, but I mean, are you guys as excited about Peasant as I am?
I don't know about excited. I'm concerned. Like you said, my first thought was, oh God, whoever gets this turn one wins. Just because like even odd decks, it slots right in. In particular, I see it being really strong in odd Demon Hunter and odd Rogue, just because you can protect it with your hero on following turns and all but guarantee. Like in odd Demon Hunter, especially, even if you're going second, you can sometimes ensure that you get the draw off of it on turn one just by coining out a hero power to kill off the opponent's minion. So it's I think it's a cool, interesting card. It's just I'm afraid of it because it's going to basically demand an answer immediately from your opponent. Otherwise, like if you get this down on turn one and you can protect it, like that's a lot of refill for an aggro deck. I doubt it's like of the quality that you need to start considering bringing it into like a Pirate Warrior or something like that. Just because like there's already a high card quality in that deck. It already has decent card draw as is. But yeah, I could see it in most aggressive odd decks as well as maybe an aggro druid that's been falling off a bit and you can't protect it quite as well. But like after the Voracious Reader nerf, that deck has like been having a bit of trouble with hand refill. So I don't know. We'll see. It really, I think this card is the power of this card is really reliant on how, first of all, how consistently you can draw it turn one, and how reliably you can protect it. So if you can do those two things, I think it'll be a very strong card, but we'll see.
I don't know what to think about this one. I don't know. Like, this is confusing. I can't tell if it's broken or if it's just like a 2-1 with taunt. So odd DH has to be the best home for it, right? Because of everything that Roffle outlined. In addition to the fact that you also play Beaming Sidekick, and so like being able to bring this up to a 2-3 is very valuable. And it's the class that can protect it the best. So yeah, but is it good enough? I don't know. Like, is this ever? How consistent is it? It's so bad going second in like aggressive mirrors. It's so horrific in that situation that it kind of makes me think like the answer is no. You can hear the certainty in my voice, but I don't know. The last card that I think this is going to be like one of the most polarizing cards in the reveal schedule. I think a lot of people are going to give it 5 stars or 1 stars, and so there's going to be a lot of variance there. But I don't know what to think about it, to be honest.
I mean, I'm just looking at aggro decks like aggro druid within Big In. This becomes a 2-mana 4/3 that draws you a card if you can't deal with it.
If it lives.
If it lives, right?
Like, yeah.
By the time it's in big, it dies, or you've already won though. So it allows you to kind of seal a game in that situation, rather than allow you to run away with it.
Yeah, and I mean, odd rogue protects it a little bit less than odd demon hunter, right? By nature of 2 mana versus 1, but
there's also like the pirates in odd rogue are so good on 1. Whereas like you don't really want this. Like even if you think this is a good shot that it's gonna stick, the tempo that you get off the pirate on 1 is so much better a lot of the time.
Yeah, I mean I'm not playing this over a pirate on turn 1 potentially, right?
Yeah,
but if I'm an odd rogue, like secret passaging into this on like turn 4, turn 5, and playing out like 2 minions plus a peasant, and then them hero powering a peasant or killing a peasant and letting a hench clan live or a 3/3 live. Or like 2/2/1s live, that's a benefit for you, right? Or if they're killing the Henchcan Thug or the Toxin Blade, then you're drawing an additional card. I mean, odd rogues are running Yoinks, so I think Peasant probably fits in over the Yoinks or the Sinister Strikes or kind of the 29th and 30th card that people are running in odd rogue. So I don't know. Like I said though, I tend to overrate card draw in aggro decks just because like it's so good when an aggro deck gets card draw, right? Like it breaks aggro decks. So maybe I'm overhyping this a ton. I think this is the one card that like you guys that are watching on YouTube, like comment about anything that you disagree with us or agree with us on. But like specifically, I want to hear you guys' thoughts on Peasant because as you can tell, there's a lot of uncertainty between the three of us, and so I'm ready to be super wrong. But I'm also like kind of scared if I'm right? Like, if this card is actually just kind of nuts, and like so many games are going to be decided on, oh crap, I can't kill the peasant, guess they win. But I mean, card draw, dude. I have changed over the past couple years. I love strong aggro decks now, especially when they get card draw, to punish all the greedy people like Roffle on ladder. And so I am all for Peasant being strong. I am so excited. I have turned into Corbett. That's
all
what's
according to
here.
plan.
Over the past year of the podcast, Corbett has actually changed me. He's changed me into an aggro player. It's scary, but
I think I'm going in the opposite direction. I've been slowly moving away from the aggro decks and moving towards greedier and greedier lists over time.
yeah. And you're the kind of person I have to punish, Ruffles, so that when I get hit by a Mutanus, or when you draw the Mutanus, it feels better when I hit your face in with a Peasant. So it's gonna be nice. All right, let's move on to maybe a less controversial card. Let's talk about Mailbox Dancer. So the animations, by the way, I did see a clip of this from the real stream. The animations were pretty sick on the Mailbox Dancer. But this is a 2-mana 3/2 neutral card. Battle cry, add a coin to your hand. Death battle, give your opponent one. My initial instinct was Evolve Shaman. Was like maybe the only place that this sees play in, just because Evolve Shaman I don't believe has any like really powerful 2-drops anyways, if I'm remembering the list correctly. And this lets you power out the Desert Hare Evolve on turn 3 if you're going first. I see Corbett deep in the Think Tank, but I guess, do you guys think this has a place anywhere other than Evolve Shaman? Or am I like even reaching too far with the Evolve Shaman with this card anyways?
I was thinking about Pillager Rogue. Like you get double coin
like
with
the new
shark.
style Pillager?
Yeah, you get double coin with the shark, and then you can like bounce that for 0 with Shadow Step, or play it for 0 with Scabs, and then you can play it again. That could work maybe. I don't know though. Apart from that, maybe just like in a not even like in the Pillager OTK. Maybe this opens up like more of this baitweed action that we got going on. Make some Edwins and stuff. But yeah, I don't know. Like play this, Shadow Step it. Play it again. Coin. Edwin? I don't know.
You can tell how much Shaman I've been playing, where Shaman was my first instinct over Miracle Rogue. Like, God, what's happened to me?
Yeah, I think that you can either offset the death rattle by evolving it, like Meow said, or you can just make the opponent dead. So I'm inclined towards making the opponent dead. So I could definitely see this as Pillager potential, just because it gives you double coin if you have the shark on your combo turn. It's effectively card draw for you in that deck, just because like you're often limited by not necessarily the cards that you have in hand, but the cards that you're able to play. So it's a combination of card draw and ramp for the combo turn. And even if you don't combo, you just run counterfeit coin anyway, so you're adding another copy of a card that you're running in your deck, so it just makes the combo turns easier. I could maybe see it in an Edwin type deck, simply because of like the synergy it has with Field Conduct as a battlecry minion itself. But I would lean more towards making the opponent dead when I can, to offset that side. The one downside is that like it does add to the density of minions that you're running, and with the Minstrel and the new 3-mana spell in that Pillager deck, you kind of want to run a lower number of minions just so that you're more consistently drawing them. But it might be worth the trade-off there. So I could definitely see that. And just thematically, like again, as the Warcraft nerd in the group, like dancing on a mailbox is a classic WoW thing to do. So it's like bringing that into Hearthstone is pretty great.
Even if it's not a great card, would you still be happy with it if it's not great?
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, the golden card for this has to be just amazing, right?
Like, I can't even imagine.
All right, let's talk about some of these mounts that got revealed today as well. Let's talk about the Elekk Mount. 7-mana priest spell. Give a minion +4/+7 and taunt. When it dies, summon an Elekk. So the Elekk is a 4/7 minion with taunt. Right now, I'm not really I was trying really hard because if you remember the Priest Book of Mercenaries or one of the Book of Heroes, there's a little really really cute 1/4 Elekk
Yeah.
that evolves into this, and when it grows up, and so I'm like, gotta play it, but not really finding a priest archetype right now that wants this spell. So I'm not really sure where it sees play. It's not even like a power word 42 that can be like discounted if you're playing like Inner Fire. So interested to see what you guys think about Elekk Mount and if it potentially has a place in our format.
I'd priest with Glitter Moth. That's
Ooh.
the only place. It's I played that deck recently. It's not good, but yeah, I think that this card is it's a pile of stats, which tends to not be enough in the wild format right now. In particular against priests, like even in a combo priest deck, just make the opponent dead before turn 7. What are you doing? So I don't. Yeah, I'm having a hard time finding a spot for it, but like high quality card, probably not something that's going to, because of its mana cost, probably not something that's going to be terribly relevant in wild.
I haven't played Arena in years, but I mean, I'm sure this would be great there. But yeah, that's about it.
Potentially good standard card as well, but I don't like just because I think you're happier generating this card than you are
Yeah,
like
if you
running it
just
in your deck.
if you generate it in a slow matchup off your Scorpid or whatever, then that's alright. But you're not putting that in the deck, right?
No, I can't see it. It is like a bigger Spike Ridge Steed, but in this case, I don't know the bigger is better just because like that extra turn makes a pretty big difference.
All right, let's not talk about it. Let's talk about Ramming Mount because I think this card's very interesting, even if it's still bad. So this is the 3-mana Hunter Mount. So this is Tavish's mount. Give a minion +2/+2 and immune while attacking. So I think the last time that we saw this was what is the name of it? It is
Ace Hunter Kreen. I was just playing him today.
Ace Hunter Cream, but there was also like a 1-mana spell that did this where it, like gave a beast
Bestial Wrath,
something like that, right? It gave a beast +2 attack and immune.
Yeah.
So Kreen was never really good enough in Wild yet. Maybe that was like a result of the cards around him more than himself. But Bestial Wrath was a card that like was never really close to seeing play. So does the +2 health for 2 additional mana that like gives you the ram on death potentially make it playable in something like Hunter? Like, would you? I guess this is like the Spell Hunter is like what I'm looking at, like the Spell Beast Hunter that Corb's been playing a lot with the Kolkar pack runner, I believe it is. And the side quest. It's really like the only place that I could see this thing, play in. But even then, I'm not sure if it's good enough. Like 3 mana is a lot for that Beast Hunter kind of deck. So, what are your thoughts?
And we should mention the Ram token that you get is a 2-mana 2/2 that is also immune while attacking. So yeah, yeah, I don't know. It doesn't seem very good to me personally. The Crane can be powerful, and Crane has been good in things like Death Rattle Demon Hunter in Standard. Works really well with True Aim Crescent in particular. But I don't think... I think that's like a very specific interaction, right? Like the True Aim and your Death Rattles, and then the Crane can come down and sort of like preloaded. I don't think it's really like... Just because they're immune while attacking doesn't mean that they're really that much worth comparing in terms of like strength or anything like that. So I don't know. I don't really think this is that good. The 2/2 buff, like it's very hard, right, in Hunter to establish board presence like this, and to have minions that are worth buffing and being able to trade up into something. Like I don't know. It's just sort of like difficult to see Hunter being able to make use of this.
I feel a little bit differently. I see it as a 4/4 body with the trades up guaranteed. It pairs well with rush minions, which Beast Hunter in particular has a lot of. So I definitely see some potential. I think it's a higher quality card, or has potential to be better than the Priest version. Even
I guess.
Oh, for sure. I think it's much better than the Priest version, but
and
I guess it does work really well with like Desert Spear, right? Like which is what you're saying, with the rush card. So like Desert Spear, you can like coin it out, and then all of a sudden you can like swing and buff, and all of a sudden you get a 3/3 that's immune, which summons a 2/2 on Death Rattle. So that's like pretty good as well. In addition to like the Springport and stuff like that.
Yeah. So I think it has definitely some potential. The lower mana cost makes it more likely to see play. And I mean, Hunter is a class that suffers when it gets behind on board, and this allows you to, in a single card, potentially create a board swing with some of those rushmen. And so I think it has some potential. I don't know if it'll necessarily be good enough, even in a deck. Like, I don't know. I've been impressed by how good Kolkar Pack Runner has been. So in a deck with that, I think that maybe. But when it does give you the potential to get a card. Like, it's hard to kill and then get the summon off for the interaction with Starving Buzzard, but like, there's some potential there as well, because unlike the Elekk, it doesn't have taunt. But I think it's an interesting card, and I think that it makes me, even if it's not strong, it makes me excited for some of the other Mount type minions, just because if they have similarly unique effects, at least they're interesting cards.
Yeah, absolutely agree with that. And again, I mean, it's not worth ignoring the fact that, like, I think the spell Beast Hunter deck is like probably the most promising Hunter deck right now, and so like if this goes in there and improves that, I think that's a very, very good sign. I guess I completely forgot about Even Hunter. God, how did I forget about
we just talked about this last week.
I know. All right, whatever. Ramming Mount, I think we agree it has potential. It'll be interesting to see that, like, in practice, what are we cutting for this, and is it maybe worth? I guess against stuff like Priest and Warlock, it's like not that great in those matchups, but it's going to be really, really nice against stuff like Pirate Warrior and Paladin. So I guess very meta dependent, maybe. Not sure if it's potentially core. But let's go ahead and talk about some of the new legendaries, starting off with Dark Bishop Benedictus. So this is like Roffle's favorite card, maybe, Archbishop Benedictus, getting kind of a new version. Dark Bishop, 5 mana, 5/6 priest legendary, has a start a game trigger. If all the spells in your deck are shadow, enter shadow form. So for those of you guys that weren't around back in beta and like the first like year of Hearthstone, shadow form is I believe it was a 2 mana spell, right? No, 3 mana spell.
It was 3.
3 mana. God,
3 mana.
so bad. But basically, it made your hero power, instead of healing 2, it made it like odd mage hero power, deal 2 to any target. And then if you played it again, it would upgrade. But yeah, I mean, now you get permanent Shadow Priest, Shadow Form hero power. Roffle over there, the moment I mentioned it, was like super happy, all smiles. I'm just gonna defer to Roffle. Let's just let you talk about this card.
Okay, so first of all, you mentioned a new version of Benedictus. I love Archbishop Benedictus, obviously, but not only is it a new version, it's also confirmed one of the diamond cards of the set. So real flashy play happening with the Dark Bishop Benedictus. I love the name associated with it. A play on the old, I just love everything about this card. I'm going to be honest with you. Start a game, enter shadow form. I played a Shadow Priest for many years in Warcraft, so I'm all about that. And like the biggest limiting factor, I think, with Shadow Form as the card was investing 3 mana into it. So not only do you have to get turn 3, draw the card, then you have to spend 3 mana doing nothing, only to get a hero power that's honestly not that great to begin with. But if you have that hero power from the start of game, I mean, we've seen how impactful that can be in like even odd decks. It is a better version of a Hunter hero power. So I think it makes a reasonable, like, aggro priest type deck. Like, it's not going to be a good deck, but I mean, it's a concept that I played around with a little bit, and I've had moderate amounts of success with it. The important thing that you have access to is you have Insight and Palm Reading and Mind Blast. Those are going to be 3 spells. You also have the Shadow Fetch spells, so you can very easily get to your Mind Blast, spike some damage early with minions, blast them in the face with the Shadow Form hero power, and then finish the game with Mind Blast. So I think that there is some real potential in there. I believe Twilight's Call is also a shadow spell, so you could run a Death Rattle package, which is what I've been doing in the past. I used to, squeeze in a Rally as well, but Rally was one of the worst performing cards in that deck, so instead of Rally, you just cut that and you run the Archbishop. Spirit Lash, also a shadow spell, so not only are you able to kill your Death Rattles after you bring them back with Twilight's Call, but you can also get some additional healing off of the Spirit Lash to make up for the fact that your hero power no longer heals. So all of that to say is I doubt it will make Shadow Priest a wild, viable archetype but I'm going to have a lot of fun with this. It's going to be one of my day one decks for sure. I'm going to get this in Diamond as soon as I possibly can. I hope it's not the I hope it's the rewards track one rather than the Brucan one, because I don't know if day one I'll have all of the legendaries just yet, but like, ooh, I'm excited for this card. I know that like this card is exactly up my alley, even if it's not going to be like the most powerful card in the set necessarily.
Got the excitement in your voice, Roffle. The excitement. Corbett, what are you thinking about this one?
It's so good, man. It's so good. This card, I don't think you need to. Yeah, like the whole aggro priest idea is probably going to be something that people jump to, but this card has so much potential in so many different archetypes. It could be things like Spiteful Priest. You could just jam it in that. You could jam it in a curved dragon priest with, I don't know, like Civ sent me a list with Keleseth and just like had that. Works really well with things like Tour Guide in that kind of curve archetype, and like imagine playing Tour Guide and priest. It's bizarre, but yeah, you don't really need to like actually play like a ton of shadow spells. You could have just Raise Dead, for example, and this activates, and that's fine. Or you could have like just Mind Control in Spiteful. And so yeah, there's a ton of potential. I even thought about it, like, do we play this in Raza Priest? Like, honestly. So the thinking was there that like you lose out on Holy Smite, Penance, Powered Shield, Wave of Apathy, and some people play Condemn. You miss out on those, and you don't play Cleric anymore, but you get a 2-mana deal 2 at the start of the game, and that can be very, very valuable for the first, like, 7 turns. It might not be a Polk Out deck, maybe you build something different, but if you're playing, like, a Dragon Reno Priest, if you want to play something that is a bit more, like, minion-based with things like Dustbreaker and a bit more curvy with Alex Straza as the top end, I think that makes a ton of sense in that type of archetype, where you're starting off with a Reno Priest that has this 2-mana deal 2. People butcher their Odd Mage deck completely just to get that hero power activated, and you can curve out so much better with this, and Priest is sort of a better archetype a lot of the time for that kind of effect. So this card's busted. It's so strong. I'm really excited to see where it goes. We know how good the Gen and Baku effects have been in Wild forever, and never underestimate just how powerful this can be. No matter what you think you're giving up, you're getting something that's better. And so don't worry about Penance, don't worry about Smite. This type of thing, 2-mana deal 2, start of a game, is absolutely insane.
I think the Gen and Baku comparison, like a small, like those cards were consistently underrated just because we had, history with that type of thing with the 6-mana card. But like the difference between, playing a card that changes your hero power into something better and having that better hero power from turn 1 is like a world of difference. So I didn't think about it in that light, but I think that, like, yeah, absolutely, it's just kind of a good card. You're getting the Odd Mage or the Zul'jin hero power from turn 1 of the game without much buy-in, because a great many of the good quality spells in Wild in particular are shadow spells.
Yeah, the moment I saw that you could still run Hysteria, Mass Hysteria, and Psychic Scream in your deck, I was like, I already knew that there's going to be some potential for this card, right? Like, the good priest cards are all shadow, like you mentioned, and so I have nothing else really to add to the commentary that you guys have given, because you guys were pretty in-depth about it. More that, like, I'm excited to just play this card. Like, I think it's going to be really, really good. Yeah. I really wish... Okay, maybe I don't really wish this, but, like, I really wish that, like, it was affected by Baku, so that you could play, like, Odd Shadow Priest and, like, have a 2-mana deal 4... 2-mana deal 4 hero power. It's probably going to be way too disgusting, but...
Well, what I was thinking was that you used to upgrade your Shadow Form from 2 to 3 damage, and they took that away when Shadow Form, they changed it. But do you think there's a chance that they still gave it to us in Baku and just didn't mention it? Because, like, they've kind of done that before, where, like, when they did Demon Hunter, they didn't actually say what the Baku hero power was for a long time until someone asked. Do you think there's a chance that they did that, or any chance? No?
I think it's unlikely, because I believe Baku explicitly states you're starting hero power. Now, technically, that's changing the shadow form. So maybe, but I would be very surprised, just because those things are happening kind of at the same time. I would still be curious which one you end up with, though, right? Like, which hero power?
Yeah.
Like, Because which one triggers first? Is it a coin flip? Like I don't.
Well, even
I,
if Benny triggers first, Baku would trigger and you wouldn't even see a basic hero power.
oh,
So
right. So that's
yeah,
true. So
I
it's
mean, we're
always going
we're
to
talking
be
about this
Shadow.
like it's going to affect anything. Like I'm 100% certain that it's not going to be affected by Baku. Like I would put
Okay.
money on that, but I wish that it was, because can you imagine 2 mana deal 4 at the start of the game with your
Well,
hero power?
it would be deal 3. I would, like Corb said, because that's the upgraded version of
I mean,
Shadow
even
Form. I'm just
that
kind of
2 mana deal 3. Like imagine how insane that would be.
no, it would be wild. Like I would, I miss, like that was the one disappointment that I did have with this card is I can no longer get to that Shadow Form level 2, which which I miss. But that's okay. I think the fact that it makes Shadow Priest like viable is a good trade, a fair trade for them.
Alright. I'm just drafting the tweet to Celestalon. I have to find this out immediately. So you guys can continue.
All right, while he's doing that, let's talk about Flightmaster Dungard. This is the free legendary, akin to like Vargoth and Kael'thas and everything like that, where all you have to do is log in and you get this card for free. It's a 3 mana 3/3 with the battle cry: choose a flight path and go dormant. Awaken with a bonus when you complete it. So the first thing that I want to say about this card is every time I see the word flight path, I think plan, and just think back to the days of hand buff mech paladin with the freaking flying machine, the PTSD. Anyways,
Ugh.
the three flight paths or plans, whatever. I'm assuming these are 3 different cities in WoW. You've got Westfall, so this is in 1 turn, summon a 2/2 adventure with a random bonus effect. In 3 turns, Ironforge, restore 10 health to your hero. Eastern Plaguelands, in 5 turns, deal 12 damage randomly split among enemies. I think the fact that this minion goes dormant then, once you pick a flight plan, is very ugh. Like, I hate that it goes dormant. Like, if this was a 3 mana 3/3 that ended up having upside later in the game, I would be okay with this, but the fact that it goes dormant just makes it like really, 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 really slow. Like insanely slow. And the effects, honestly, to be completely honest, are just not even that great, right? Like a 2/2 random adventure is okay, but that means that you spent 3 mana and then on turn 4 you're getting a 3/3 with a random adventure. I think that's like best case scenario. And then Ironforge, this is like on turn 6, restoring 10 health to your hero. And then on turn 8, dealing 12 damage randomly split. I mean, I just think it's extremely slow, and so I don't think it's very good. I will say that I didn't even like attempt to try this card today once I logged in, just because like I kind of had this bias of like, I think this card is bad. There's no reason for me to play it, and I probably should have tested it before opening my mouth about it. But I mean, Roffle, did you mess with this card at all?
Yes, don't worry. I tested it for you, and I can confirm that you are 100% correct. Like this card is kind of a bummer. Like it's fun. I like the concept of it because again, Westfall, Ironforge to Eastern Plaguelands, these are like increasing incrementally in terms of like the level zone associated with it. So it's kind of interesting in that regard. It's an interesting concept, but like kind of like the guy from Wailing Caverns playing a 3/3 that immediately goes dormant doesn't feel good on turn 3. And you don't even really get the upside of super powerful dream cards as a result of it. You just like I found myself being happiest when I just chose Westfall and got like an immediate 2/2. Like there were a lot of times where I'd go to Ironforge and the turn that I'd get the healing, I'd kill the opponent. So like that wasn't terribly helpful. And I never once was in a situation where I wanted to pick the 5 turns because like this is wild. Even if I get it down on curve, like turn 8, the game is already decided for somebody, even if like the heroes haven't exploded yet. Like I don't know that I can't see that like at that point in the game somebody's already swung things into their favor to the point where dealing 12 isn't necessarily going to change that. So it's not good. Unfortunate, but it's just not good.
All right, so I guess my last question: are you guys happy with playing this card as a like dormant minion that awakes in a turn? So like you play this for 3 mana, and the next turn you get a 5/5. Are you okay with that? Like, is that a playable rate with potential upside of healing and damage if you need it in specific matchups? or is like
Yeah.
that rate not even good enough for it to see play?
Like that was the only time that it was a useful card. I just like I ended up going to like auto select the Westfall no matter how low my health was. Like even if my like there are points where I was under 10 health and I'm just like, okay, well, I play this, I choose the adventure and pray that I get lifesteal because that's the only thing that's going to actually make a difference. Even then, the turn delay, because then you have to wait yet another turn after it goes undormant in order to attack again. So you've already kind of gotten behind. Your opponent can dictate trades and take it off the board. So I don't even know if in that case it's worthwhile.
All right, Dungard bad. As cool of a concept as it is, Dungard bad. Unfortunate. All right, I know we're going a little bit long on time, but there's just so many new cards to talk about. Let's talk about these last two quests. All right, let's talk about the Mage one, Sorcerer's Gambit. So again, like we mentioned, these quest lines have 3 different steps before you get to the big final reward, but you do get little small rewards for progressing through. So let's talk about Sorcerer's Gambit. This is the initial quest that you would play. And in order to progress, you have to cast a Fire, a Frost, and an Arcane spell. Once you cast all 3 of those, you get the reward of drawing a spell from your deck. It then moves on to Quest Part 2, Stall for Time. Questline, cast a Fire, Frost, and Arcane spell. And your reward this time is to discover a spell. And then you move on to the third part of the quest, Reach the Portal Room. Questline, cast a Fire, Frost, and Arcane spell. And for your reward this time, you get Arcanist Dawngrasp. This is kind of the leveled up Varden Dawngrasp. And they are a 5-mana 7/7 legendary minion. Battle cry for the rest of the game. You get spell damage plus 3. So I think this fits perfectly in like the spell mage in standard. Do we think that this has a home in wild, I guess is the question.
No, you want to be ending the turn or ending the game by the time Varden would be coming out, because like you're not. I find it unlikely that you're getting this done by turn 5, so they're not coming down on curve, and as a result of that, like you would rather just be setting up a Mizaki in that portion of the game. I think that you're pretty much right on that. This is a card that slots right into just like a full spell mage, and it's fine in that deck. That deck isn't bad in wild, but it's certainly not like super competitively viable. It will eventually rotate and be wild exclusive, and people will, play it, and it'll continue getting more support. So I could definitely see it being, down the line something that's considered, but a preference choice rather than a strength thing. I think that there are stronger things you can do in mage than this.
Yeah, cool card, standard card. Doesn't really fit wild with that kind of win condition. So
Yeah,
I don't know. Looking forward to see though what kind of support it gets and seeing how that might interact with some other wild cards that want to use similar synergies like APM Mage or Mizaki Mage.
Yeah, I think what I'm most excited for with this card is the potential to run a triple quest mage where my entire starting hand is just complete garbage, and that is what I'm excited about.
Only you, Roffle. Only you.
It's not only me. It's not only me. My Twitch chat was all about that, and I think Swag was really high on that possibility.
Oh,
He's already got the side quests in as well. He's already got the full kit, the Theoricraft. Yeah.
Oh, God. All right, let's talk about this last card that we got to see today. Let's talk about the Warlock quest. So let's start with the Demon Seed. Very spooky, kind of creepy name. The Demon Seed. Questline, take 6 damage on your turns. Reward, deal 3 damage to the enemy hero with lifesteal. So deal 3, gain 3. Second part of the quest, establish the link. Quest, take 7 damage on your turns. Reward, deal 3, gain 3. And then complete the ritual. Questline, take 8 damage on your turns. Reward, Blightborn Tamsin. Blightborn Tamsin is a 5-mana 7/7 battle cry for the rest of the game. Damage you take on your turn damages your opponent instead. I want to go ahead and start off with, like, man, I just don't know how hard it is to, like, damage yourself repetitively over and over again. Like, it just doesn't really seem like something that's, like, very feasible in Wild. Like, I don't know, like, how easy is it to take all this damage? Like, there's no way you can do that and get to, like, 10 HP by, like, turn 3 or turn 4, right? There's no way.
No, it doesn't seem very viable. Never seen anything like that at all. Nothing comes to mind.
Yeah, Yeah, I mean, taking damage, very easy. Dark Glare. The question is, I mean, do you run this in Dark Glare?
No. I'm going to give a very firm no. You don't run this in what we currently think of as Dark Glare is the thing. And so this is going to be a separate deck, if it's going to be a deck. You don't play this in the deck that wants to play 0 mana 8/8 and kill the opponent on turn 4, because you can't take all that damage, like, give up a quest card, take all that damage, and then play a 5 mana 7/7 that does nothing on that turn. You will die. You will die every time. And so it's just not really fitting that archetype. That said, you can use a very similar shell. We drop the giants and we run, you know, a lot of the same package, but there are a few differences. For example, Crystallizer works incredibly well as a double of. There's a 2 of here with this card because, you know, like, you don't actually take any damage, but you still get 5 entire, like, 5 damage on this, like, quest line is nuts. So that's really valuable. And so the idea is basically, like, you can build this in 2 different ways to me. It's like you can build a fatigue style deck, basically make this sort of like a Mechathune 2.0, especially with something like the weapon that we talked about earlier. There might be some sort of stuff we can use to try and rip through our deck as fast as we can with all those mana discounts. Maybe you play Hemet or something like that, like Hemet, like play this and then Hemet and then backfire in fatigue, and like that could be like a viable line. Solarium, Tamsin, Solarium is like a lot of damage potentially. And so yeah, that could be one way. The other way is to build it more like Dark Glare and make it not fatigue being the win condition. Just make it, you know, Dark Glare, Raise Dead Librarian, Crystallizers, a whole bunch of things like that. And so yeah, it's an interesting card. It doesn't really fit into what we currently think of as Dark Glare Warlock.
As somebody who's terrible at playing Dark Glare, I'm glad that you said that, because that was kind of my intuition as well. I think the biggest thing about this card is not just that the payoff is really not great for like typical Dark Glare decks as we see them now, but on top of that, giving up a card in your opening hand is, I think, underestimated in terms of how high impact that is for a deck like Dark Glare that needs a turn 1, but not only just needs a turn 1, but needs like to consistently find the Dark Glare, and having 1 less card in your hand means you're 1 card further away from the Dark Glare each game. So I definitely don't see it in that deck. I think that I was thinking of something very similar in terms of the fatigue building with Hemet and the deck emptying cards, just to start, because fatigue scales so quickly. And so if you can get the quest done, which, like you said, isn't very difficult, you do get some healing back from the quest as well, so you're maybe not in as vulnerable a place. But can you imagine playing Blightborn Tamsin into Hemet on curve and then just start immediately scaling up that fatigue damage into your opponent? Like you said, the potential for, you know, spiking damage in that deck is pretty ridiculous. You've got the backfires, which you're going to be running anyway because they fit with not like every aspect of what the deck's doing. And then like the Tamsin Solarium is just GG. Like, I don't know. Yeah. It seems like a really fun deck to me. I want to do something with the fatigue portion of it where I'm
specs right now. For the,
I don't know how to tell you this, but you're wrong. You're wrong. This is going to be fun. And until it
is going to be so unfun to play against. I thought Mechathune and Mazaki mages were unfun to play against. I can already tell this is going to be even less fun, right? Like, no thank you. I mean, I totally see where you're coming from. Can totally see it being a good deck. I really would hate if it was a good deck, but I can totally see where you're coming from. I think that like the standard version of this deck like probably runs like all the self-mill cards, right? And you run the 3 mana 3/3 that deals 6 and gains 6. You can run the 1 mana taunt. You have, I mean, you probably don't even run Niru in that deck because you don't need to, right? And so
it's also that deck also hard counters the oppressive Ticketus. Your opponent tries to Ticketus you and send you deep into fatigue, and they die. So
you can Ticketus yourself.
Oh, uncorrupted
actually, there we go.
Hemet Ticketus is like your only cards. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, deck that I would finally be happy playing Ticketus in. I can see it.
But I really do think the viability of this depends on, can you complete this quest before turn 5? Which sounds kind of insane, but also might not be that bad. Like, if you get a Dark Glare and a Crystallizer and a Raise Dead, you're pretty close. Like you've almost done it just off that. And so if you can consistently get this reward in hand by turn 5 into like what Ruffle outlined earlier, the Tamsin on 5, Hammered on 6, and then try and kill them on 7. That can be a real wild deck. It's just a matter of like, is that actually going to be how it pans out a lot of the time?
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, dude, I have people playing Molten Giants against me on turn 2 and turn 3. I think that there is no problem in taking that much damage in,
this is true.
3 turns, right? Because you play this on 1, you have 2, 3, 4 to take 21 damage. Yeah.
I guess the question I ask is like, is it just better than getting Molten Giants or Flesh Giants down on turn 3?
No.
So, it's like I don't think this is going to be a serious deck. I think it's going to be a fun alternate win condition, which I'm into. I don't think it needs to like it shouldn't be a
I mean, we pray that it's not better than Dark Lair. Like we have to.
Yeah. But I also don't think it should be like a super competitive deck, just because like it's the type of archetype that I'm glad exists as long as it's not too strong, and I don't think it will be. So I think I'm okay with unless they print some additional cards that synergize with that, or unless like it is stronger and easier to get online than we're assuming. I think that like the big oof is the turn 5 play a 7/7, cross your fingers, like, because you do have to not die like you said, and yeah, you're taking a lot of damage.
There's also like, if you want to follow that up with Hemet, like if that's something that you need to do, then it's 5 mana 7/7 into 6 mana 6/6, and that's like a lot of not great.
It's I mean it's a control killer though in that case, because you are scaling big so quickly. So like it's probably better in certain matchups than Dark Lair, but like weaker to aggro, better to against slower decks.
For sure. If you go for that fatigue line as well, assuming that you have like just enough healing, the opponent will never out armor you. Like the Odd Warrior will never be able to out armor like 10 fatigue ticks or 12 fatigue ticks or something like that, and so it doesn't have that restriction either.
Even Armor Druid, the like Linecracker Druid isn't gonna be the out armor that. Like it legitimately would beat that as long as they are not running Naturalize to fatigue you on.
Yeah, you keep life tapping, and then like how much fatigue do you? Can you take like, if you try and fatigue as much as you can, how much fatigue are we actually looking at here?
It would be a lot, because it would be +2 damage every time too, and like you could probably beat a Linecracker Druid with Dead Man's Hand Cold Light. So I imagine you could beat it with this deck as well, just life tapping. Like you draw 2 cards per turn. That starts scaling up pretty quickly.
Yeah.
If somebody wants to test that, report back. once we do this, report back. Because I'm not sitting through an hour of that, but I'm sure somebody out there will.
I would be happy to. If somebody wants to stream snipe me with Linecracker Druid on the day of the expansion, I will happily test that out.
All right, Roffle just encouraged stream sniping. You heard it here first. So now you can clip this and show it to him whenever you do it. No, I'm just kidding. Please don't.
And it'll be the last thing you link in my chat before you're banned, so it'll be perfect.
Got him. I mean, we talk about this. It's another expansion, another new deck, another day that I am so thankful that Secret Mage exists. Like, oh, thank God. Yeah. Anyways, all right. We've been going for a while, but can't help it. We're just really, really excited about a new expansion and a bunch of new cards, and we hope you guys are as well. So I hope you guys enjoyed the little bit of a longer episode today. I mean, I'm excited to talk about, God, if this is just like the first taste of what we're getting, I'm super excited for the rest of the expansion. I'm super hyped. I guess I'm going to leave you guys off with one last question. What are y'all's first impressions of this set? Like I said, I am pretty hype. Are you guys as well?
I mean, yeah, like you said, this is just a taste. Not only are we getting interesting mechanics, I think the power level seems a little bit higher than what we initially got from Fortune of the Barons, and Fortune of the Barons ended up being very powerful. Like we had a lot of nerfs that were necessary that impacted the wild format. So like if that's the case, this could be a set that actually has some disruption within the wild metagame, which they may need to scale it back again, but at least we'll maybe get some change in the first few weeks, and hopefully it isn't an overreaction that is necessary for standard that we saw, kind of taking wild back an expansion. So I'm looking forward to it. I'm excited. Thematically, it's fun, and I think that the mechanics look pretty cool as well.
This is Alex first set as a lead, right? Is that? I feel like I heard that somewhere.
I have no idea.
Alec Dawson. Oh, okay. Well, if it is, I don't know. But yeah, the mechanics that we're seeing, they are throwbacks, but they're kind of like tweaks in the same way that Rush is a tweak on Charge. It's just sort of like a smarter way of doing it, and so that's the thing with these quest lines and with the weapons, you know, like losing that durability and sort of making them not legendary. It's these fun little twists on things that we've seen before in KNC and Ungoro, and just like much smarter choices. I feel like we also have this really great new mechanic with Tradable. I think this set looks incredibly promising so far. I really, really like it. And so, you know, it's gonna be a long month. It's gonna be a long month while we wait.
Yeah, I don't know. It's been a very long time since I've been legitimately this excited for a new expansion on day one of the reveal. Like, even with everything going on with BlizzCon and the release of Forged in the Barrens, it was like, I don't think it matches my excitement for this just because of the cards that we've seen so far. So, yeah, I couldn't be more excited, I don't think. Especially, we got a Dark Bishop Benedictus. Are you kidding me?
I will say my one knock so far is that the expansion trailer song was not as catchy as what we've had in the past, right? Like, it wasn't something that I could just bop to. So that is my one mark against what is it? United in Stormwind, I believe is the God. I don't even remember the name. Yeah, United in Stormwind. That's my only knock so far. All right, yeah. I'm sure that I will. Go ahead.
It's no Saviors in Oldham. It's no personally, Kobolds and Catacombs is my favorite musical teaser, but I think I'm maybe vastly outnumbered in that.
When Ixar put out a poll, he was doing like a tournament for that. I made like a full-on tier list. I went through and I listened, and I've already forgotten exactly which ones I liked. All I know is I'm pretty sure the Angora one was like.
I was about to say Ben Bro's Angora rep will by far and away always be tier 1. You know, nothing will ever beat that. But yeah, I mean, that's gonna wrap it up for our episode, though. Again, let us know down in the comments below what you agreed with, if you disagreed, especially Peasant. All right, let us know your thoughts about Peasant. Because like Corbett said, I'm pretty sure it's going to be a very polarizing card leading up until the expansion, until we can actually play with the cards. But yeah, again, just a reminder that you can listen to the podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, wherever you guys get your podcasts. You can find us there. And if you guys are enjoying the podcast, if you guys enjoyed today's episode, make sure you guys hit that like button and that subscribe. Corbett and Roffle, thank you again for joining me. Let the people know where they can find you.
Find me at RoffleHS on Twitter and Instagram, and at Roffle on YouTube and Twitch.
And guys, you can find me at Corbettgames on Twitter and Twitch and all that good stuff. So yeah, thank you again for listening.
Yeah, you guys can find me on YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, at GetMeOut as well. God. I hope you guys, are enjoying all these reveals. I hope you guys are enjoying the expansion, which actually, we didn't talk about the metagame, but it feels like it's in a pretty okay spot right now, right? I don't hate it, so that's always a good sign. So I hope you guys are enjoying Hearthstone, I hope you guys are enjoying all the spoilers, and we will see you again next week, all right? Have a good one.